Hi guys, welcome back to Lex Alexas. Today I'm going to be giving you my early predictions for the 25-26 Championship season. So you're going to hear my assessment on all the 24 teams competing for the upcoming 25-26 season in August. Bear in mind, it's beginning of June, the season doesn't start till August, we've got a whole transfer window. Things are going to change. This table is very likely going to change when I do my official table predictions in the next couple of weeks or so. So do take all of my current guesses with a current pinch of salt. Lots of things can change. Managers can leave, players can come in, players can depart, which can ultimately change my views. But what I'm interested to know is what are you guys currently thinking the championship season is going to happen in the comments down below. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts too. If you guys like what you see, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. If we can get to 50 likes, that will be absolutely appreciated. Please do hit the subscribe button too. It really does help as we're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. We're getting ever closer to that goal. To show my thanks once again, here are the couple of you who have subscribed to the channel to give a shout out. Shout outs go to Ian McD Randoms, Keith King, Matthew Strong's Toaster Ward, Peter Griffin, Dazlish, Flimmick, Willids94, John F. Mortensen, Damien Heaven, Mega Anthony 1986, AI, Rover Animates, Manoj Patel, and Brian Heather. Thank you, all of you, for choosing to spend your time watching my videos. If you guys can share the video as well, it will be a massive help for the growth of this channel. But without any further ado, let's start revealing my table early predictions for the championship, one place at a time. Last place, I'm thinking it might be Charlton at this moment of time, but of course things can change come near the start of the season. But as of my current thoughts, I am thinking Charlton are going to be in the bottom three and could quite easily be bottom of the table as well. I do like their manager Nathan Jones, but when we have seen him in the past take over other championship clubs that have not been Luton Town, it's not been convincing. He wasn't amazing with Stoke City when he was in the championship. Ultimately did keep them up for the little time he was there, but then the season after things got really descending into chaos almost right at the end, and ultimately he needed to go to Luton Town to save his career again and save his reputation from the Luton supporters. And then when he joined Southampton, it wasn't amazing. And with Charlton, I actually think he took a good step to maybe take a division down to work things with the opposition, the level of opposition, I should say. And is, I think, slowly starting to formulate a good team here. I like Gillespie, who scored the playoff final winning goal for Charlton. I think Tyrese Campbell has played a lot of championship football. And of course, Matt Gordon, I think, is the bright spark in that team that could be the difference, but I still think a lot more investment is going to be needed from Charlton to convince me that they're going to stay up. But what they have done right, Charlton, is that they, just this morning actually, have signed Nathan Jones to a longer term contract, because he was linked to move actually to Cardiff at one stage of the summer. Those rumours have died down a bit, and now he's got that extended contract. It's not going to be as easy from clubs to try and poach him away from Charlton. I think if Charlton keep him on, they will have a small chance to survive. Coming up just above Charlton in the table, in my opinion, I think could be Hull City. I wasn't too impressed with Hull throughout last season. They only had a very brief moments of good form under Ruben Sellers, and then with the previous managers they had at the start of the season. They of course dismissed Sellers, who I actually thought was a little bit of a ludicrous decision. It looks like to me that they're going to get Jarkovic in, who I had to do a little bit of research to find out what he's all about. He played in the Croatian League all of his career and he's been managing teams all around Slovenia, Bosnia and Croatia. Quite recently managed Dinamo Zagreb, but one thing I have noticed with his managerial career is he's not lasted more than 2 to 3 seasons per club. So he doesn't have the best record of being able to sustain momentum from one season to the next. So this to me feels like it's going to be a pretty short-term appointment. But it is an interesting one, and I will be interested to hear Hull's fans' views on Jarkovic coming in the comments down below. But as of right now, the squad for me is a little bit light on quality, a bit weak at the moment. Certainly investment is going to be needed for this Hull City side, and they'll need to fit Jarkovic's system if he is going to be confirmed to be the manager, which is pretty much 90% confirmed by now. I don't know. Hull could be a wild card. They could be amazing, and somehow the combination of the new manager and the players he brings in could work. But as of right now, I think the club's a little bit of a mess at the moment. So right now, I'm putting them in 23rd. Now, next might be controversial, but I've gone for Sheffield Wednesday, and I was very reluctant to put Sheffield Wednesday in this position because they finished in a mid-table position last season. The thing that I'm a little bit concerned about, though, is their off-the-field problems, their financial difficulties, their cash flow problems. When you've got cash flow problems with an owner, it disrupts everything, disrupts shareholders, and it disrupts all the necessary stakeholders you need to bring out the best performance, and that includes the players and the manager. And you can wonder, with Sheffield Wednesday being pretty poor with their form in around the March, April and May time, where I said in my playoff breakdown video last year, they had so-called the easier running out of all of the teams chasing for the playoffs. But that was, of course, the start of when the cash flow issues started, and there could have been more warning signs leading up to this based on Shansiri's past behaviours as an owner, but that was a very detrimental period to their season, and it really stumbled their momentum, big time. Danny Rowe has been linked with a couple of championship clubs and clubs outside of England as well, in Germany in fact. So the future of Danny Rowe is a bit unclear at the moment, and when I'm seeing tension and chaos, I'm not feeling so confident that Sheffield Wednesday are going to be able to pick themselves up and to survive. And especially when there's no guarantee that cash flow problems are going to be resolved come, following into the season. And the fact there could be an embargo in place for Sheffield Wednesday. I just think all the warning signs are there that Sheffield Wednesday are going to have it really tough next season. So reluctantly and unfortunately, and I really hope I'm wrong, but I've got Sheffield Wednesday as of the start of June in the bottom three, and I really do hope they prove me wrong. Next in my table, I've gone for Oxford United. I think Oxford could survive and could get a couple of seasons in the Championship. My biggest stress for Oxford is that they need to keep Gary Rowett. If they decide to dismiss him, which I'd be shocked if they do, I think they could struggle. Something about when Gary Rowett came in, the dramatic improvement in form and playing style was immense. I mean, they're not going to play the most expansive football. We're going to accept that. Gone are the days when they had Liam Manning and all of that lot just playing expansive and open football. But one thing I will say with Oxford, they have got a solid foundation. They've got an experienced Championship manager who I think will get the best out of his Oxford side 100% of the time with all of their games. And I do think whilst their budget is not massive, I think the fundamentals to repeat will be enough to squeeze Oxford not only above the relegation zone, but I think if Gary Rowett stays on and believes in this Oxford project, I think could get a couple of seasons out of them. But as I said, with lots of clubs in the Championship currently looking for a new manager, could they think of trying to poach Gary Rowett from Oxford? We just don't know the managerial merry-go-rounds and ins and outs that are going to be occurring from all Championship clubs until potentially to the start of the season. But I'm pretty sure that Oxford will not only stay up, but I just think that they may be in or around that position, but they certainly have got enough to finish, in my opinion, above the relegation zone. Next on my list is Stoke City. Stoke is a tough one for me, and I've mentioned this already, in fact, probably in my last Championship video when I was grading Stoke's season, that they are a team that, at the moment, with the way that they're moving in terms of the personnel of players and manager, they just seem to be a team that's on the decline, and I'm not seeing anything from the ownership that's going to inspire me that they can jump up from their 18th place that they finished from last season. It's their lowest finish since getting relegated from the Premier League. And I just think they will stick around that low part of the table where they'll have enough to survive, But at this moment of time, I'm not so confident that they are going to set the Championship alight again. I'm still yet to be fully convinced with Mark Robins as Stoke manager as well. So I think with a little bit of uncertainty of how I am finding Stoke from next season, I think I'm going to keep it safe in the moment and keep them in the lower part of the table. Certainly the squad players on their day can be decent enough, but there's so much inconsistency with the side, and still yet again I'm not fully convinced with Stoke with Mark Robins. So with all of those uncertainties, I think Stoke will finish in 20th as it stands. Coming up next in 19th place might be a bit of a surprise, but I've gone for Queen's Park Rangers. And now this is part again to managerial chaos. We still do not know what's going on with the manager situation with Queen's Park Rangers. The squad for me from last season was so inconsistent. They were at times, getting a good streak of results. When things were clicking, Queen's Park Rangers looked like that they can beat most teams. I was really impressed actually with their performance against Leeds United near the end of the season. But when it goes wrong, goodness me, Queen's Park Rangers looked really, really average at times. And they were not necessarily giving themselves a big amount of breathing space back away from the relegation battle. They were quite lucky that actually in the times they were playing against sides in the relegation battle, they avoided defeat. In all of those times, they didn't really blow those teams away. And I do think Queen's Park Rangers will be in that position again, unless they get a really exciting manager in who can attract some really, really good players. I'm just not so certain with the squad as it stands. It didn't blow me away. I was left quite underwhelmed by Queen's Park Rangers season last year, to be quite honest with you. And I think, especially now with Sheff Utd looking like he is on his way out, I just do not know what to expect with his Queen's Park Rangers side. So again, maybe a bit safe, but I'm going to put them in the lower part of the table. But I don't think they'll have any fear of going down as it stands, unless there's a max exodus of players leaving. Then I think Queen's Park Rangers may need to think about that. But I think at the moment they have got the resources to survive. Next in my table predictions is Preston. Now Preston, surprisingly enough, have actually done the most business out of all Championship clubs so far. Typically with Preston, they are quite slow when it comes to transfers, but they have acted very quickly. I think they've recognised that last season, finishing in 20th, they need reinforcements coming in. Now, I'm thinking Jordan Thompson coming in from Stoke, very Preston signing, but I think will certainly add an option in their midfield area. And Daniel Iverson coming back in goal, I actually think is a very positive signing from Preston to get him away from Leicester. And then Valentin from Sheffield Wednesday. Preston are making some moves. Now, will they keep this momentum come to the end of the transfer window? I'm not so sure. And I definitely like Iverson out of those three the most. I think the other two are certainly players that are players with Championship experience, but they're not players that really blow me away that I think, oh blimey, Preston are really going to improve on their form. I just see them as a little bit more steady Eddie players, that they are going to be squad players that can be relied upon when need be, but they're not the most dazzling of players and names, if I've got to be brutally honest. So I think Preston still, I think, will see improvement. I just don't know the scale of this improvement yet. I'm still not too convinced with the rest of the squad. It's not one of the younger squads anymore. And what I do think is they're going to need to back Heckingbottom big time. He clearly was not very happy with what he saw come near the end of Preston's season last year. So I'm hoping with everyone on the same page, I think we'll see Preston improve a couple of places. Coming up next in my table, I've gone for Watford. Again, maybe a bit of a shock. I did predict Watford to have a pretty bad season last season, and they did a little bit better from what I thought. I actually predicted them in 19th from my official predictions when they finished in 14th. 17th will be a 3-place drop from Watford. What I sense with Watford is a very interesting one, because they've obviously got a manager in Pezzolano now, so they managed to get the manager situation sorted out, and he is starting to now get players in that he wants to work with. I just sense that maybe more scrutiny will then be put onto Watford if more concentration from the owners is going to be put on them, but at this moment I'm not too confident with the squad that they have at this moment of time. I don't think it's a particularly inspiring squad. They definitely need more players in my opinion, that are going to push Watford up the table. they'll stay, in my opinion, as of right now, whereabouts where they finished from last season. And I think for me, with Pezzolano being a bit of an unproven manager at this level, it's more likely to me that they may drop a couple of places rather than jump a good couple of places up at this moment of time. Next in my prediction is Blackburn Rovers. So this is a bit of a drop-off from Blackburn. They finished 7th last season. I'm predicting them in 16th as it stands for next season. I'm so uncertain how a full season with Valérien Ismaël is going to go. To be honest, I think could have a good season again. But again, the squad for me is a little bit light. I just thought there was such a good connection there with the squad and John Eustace, and it's going to convince me a little bit to see if Blackburn could do it again. I definitely want to see Blackburn to be a little bit more busier for what they're looking at the moment in the transfer window. But I'm a little bit undecided with Blackburn. Blackburn's one of these ones, again, a little bit similar with Hull, who could either have an amazing season or could have a pretty average season. And for me, I've kind of gone for the latter at the moment. I'm just a little bit unconvinced that Blackburn are going to reach the same heights again from last season. This could be the shock of the video, but I've got Wrexham as low down as 15th. I can already see my comment section, I mean if I'm going to get viewers, flooded of people telling me I'm insane for putting Wrexham as low down as 15th. All I'm going to say for the people predicting Wrexham top 10 and top 6, just hold your horses. Just calm down. Because at this moment of time, I think this Wrexham squad has got unbelievable potential. It does have unbelievable potential. Looking at their starting 11s, they have players with championship experience. Matty James had experience with Bristol City and Coventry. I think could do a good job for them. Ryan Longman has had experience, I believe, at Hull. He can do a good job as well. Jay Rodriguez, of course, we saw him score plenty of goals for Burnley and West Brom when he was called upon at his time as well. Elliot Lee, I think, could do a good job. Again, at championship level, I'm not too sure that he's going to replicate the goal-scoring formula he has done in the lower leagues, if I've got to be honest. James McLean, of course, has got championship experience. So I'm not denying the fact that there will be some players with championship experience, but there are some players which I'm going to hold my judgments to see if they can adapt to the championship. And a good example of that is Sam Smith. Absolutely prolific with Reading and in the second half of the season with Wrexham as well. Can he deliver that in the championship as well? It's yet to be seen, but I really hope he does. And I'm really excited to see if Jack Marriott's going to feature a little bit more from Wrexham as well, because we know he can definitely score some goals in the level in the championship, whether that's from Derby and Peterborough. He has done it before at this level. So it could be amazing, but at this moment, I'm a little bit nervy with Phil Parkinson, if I've got to be honest. Last time he was out in the championship, he was in a Bolton side that, you know, you had to put chocolate statues in their defence because they were melting constantly. And I do think Wrexham, their backline, I'm still yet to be convinced by in championship level. I have seen, in terms of the lower leagues, they have been solid most of the time, but a lot of those players for me that were featured in their backline, to me, I've not really got lots of championship experience. So Wrexham could be one of those teams that I might change quite considerably when it comes round to my official table predictions. I did the same actually last year to Bristol City, and actually it resulted me getting a pretty good prediction in the end for Bristol City. Maybe this video is the proof that I need that you shouldn't underestimate Wrexham. But at this moment, I've got to put someone there, and for me, Wrexham at the moment, I think will comfortably survive. There's no doubt about that. But I think if things go wrong and the crucial goal-scoring players get injured, I do think it could be a difficult season. But again, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen with their manager. We don't know who's going to get injured or not. This is just a basic assessment of the best-case scenario versus the worst-case scenario. And for me, it's ended up with them finishing in a moderate 15th position. Let me know what you think of Wrexham's chances in the comments. Coming up next on my table is Derby County. I think they are a team who could considerably improve from their position last season. I think, again, John Eustace is a solid championship manager. And whilst it took a bit of a difficult start for Derby to get some form under him, when they did get the form under him, they looked brilliant. And they were able to manipulate the way that they played depending on their opposition. So clearly John Eustace is setting this Derby side to be competitive. I think there is ambition for them to improve on from the next season, and I just think they do have the momentum on their side. They've got the managerial personnel. I back him that he can make some really good transfers as well. I do think Derby could do quite well next year, in my opinion. So 14th will be a considerable improvement from Derby. Completing my bottom half, in my opinion, is Portsmouth. Again, like with Derby, I think second season, I think we could start seeing some improvement from Pompey. They already look like they've got the formula to win their home games. They were brilliant at home last season, and I think if they do the same next season, I think again it won't only get them to survive, but I think it will build all the solid foundations for them to be a solid championship club. I just would like to see more investment, and I'd like to see them just improve on with their away form. But I think if they could definitely find some more experienced players, and I think they can certainly build on with this momentum from last season, then I do say, a bit similar with Derby, I think we can see another team second season in the championship with investment. I think they can start to improve. So for me, I think Portsmouth will have a pretty strong year next year as it stands. Now into to the top half of the table. For my opinion, I think it could be Middlesbrough who finish around this region of the table. Now, I did make this just after Michael Carrick got sacked or dismissed. I still think, without knowing who the manager's going to be, I do think Middlesbrough will be in that region of the table-ish. And it's a frustrating one with Middlesbrough because you can definitely see that there is quality there, but just some inconsistency in terms of finding the ball in the back of the net is really what's laying them back. Personally, I will be interested to see what sort of approach, whether it's going to get a manager similar to Michael Carrick's high attacking style, or whether if they're going to go back to roots and go for a little bit more of a route one approach, like a Tony Mowbray approach or something. But I don't know. It's all just really speculation at this moment of time about who the next manager could be. That could be another club who could be looking at the likes of either Gary Rowett or Danny Röhl. So I do personally think Middlesbrough at the moment of time, because we don't know what's going to go on with the manager situation and with transfers coming in, I'm going to put them right in the middle of the table, which will be a slight regression from last season, but I don't think they're going to drop drastically lower than what they did from last year. Next on the table, again with a team with a manager change, is Bristol City. Now, obviously, their manager actually jumped to another championship club who I'm yet to predict, by the way, Norwich City. So Bristol City squad, I think, is in a good place, but I'm going to be interested to see, can they recover from I'm not going to say the humiliation, but the demolition of their playoff, or very brief playoff campaign against Sheffield United. I do think there are some good moments of improvement there, but I do think they just complemented well to Liam Manning's style, and now he's gone. They're going to have to really be smart, Bristol City, to finding a good manager who can still get the most out of his players. Rob Edwards being linked, I think, is a good option for Bristol City. I think he can do a good job with them if he does come in. But again, a big if. I think with clubs in the Championship looking for a manager, it's going to be a dogfight to get some available competent Championship managers. So I am still reserving my judgment for Bristol City. I would probably like to predict them knowing who their manager's going to be. But as it stands, I think they will drop a little bit, but not too drastically. I still think they will get top half at this moment of time. Next on my list is Swansea. I think they could get top 10, and the reason for that is I'm really liking their momentum. The momentum they had at the end of the season was really, really good. I think Sheehan has proved that he can be a decent manager at this level, and I just would like him to have a big say on the players that Swansea could get in. And personally, at the moment, with the way that they were playing near the end of the season, the options that they have, the experienced players that they've got at this level, I do think Swansea have got a decent team on their hands. Swansea, to me, could be one that lets me down, or they could even exceed my expectations. It's a bit difficult to assess Swansea at this moment of time because the manager they've got in has not had a full season, but I think hopefully with a transfer window, we can start thinking about where realistically the Swansea side can go. But as it stands, I think just based on the momentum, I think they will have an improvement and they can have a real good crack, Swansea, again in the top half. Ninth place, in my opinion, is West Bromwich Albion. So West Brom, I think, are still looking to get a manager that's definitely going to stay with them to next season. They have let quite a few players go who have had big championship experience, including John Swift. There's going to be changes in the squad for this West Brom side coming next season. So the manager who does eventually take over and leads West Brom on to next season, he's got a big job on his hands. I do see this side again being filled to the brim with enough experience and quality that they can get top half. I don't think I've ever seen West Brom finish like lower than 10th or anything in any of their championship seasons. They are remarkably consistent, but this could be the next season where they could fall down there if they don't get the right decisions and the right personnel. But I trust the board to know what they need to do in this position here, that they'll get enough players in. And we did see, like, in a very quick glimpse against Luton in the last game of the season, with everyone available, they can blow teams away. So I'm holding hope for West Brom that they can have a good year next year, but I'm still not too sure. I think 9th place for me, which is around the position they finished last year, I think they'll finish in around that position again. Now, next on my list is Birmingham. So I might be one of the few that is not predicting Birmingham in the top 6 as it stands. And I am very well aware that we have seen teams before go through consecutive promotions from League One to the Premier League, or consecutive top 6 finishes from League One up to the Championship. We've seen it all too many times. Ipswich is a really good example from 2 seasons ago. I think Birmingham will be a brilliant team at home. They're going to be immense. St Andrews is, in my opinion, going to be one of the toughest places to get a result in. They've got ambitious owners who are going to pump a lot of money in, and I think that will therefore give Birmingham some good pulling power to get some good players in, and I think their transfer strategy is going to be crucial to Birmingham's success next year. I do see, again, likewise with Wrexham, a good number of players with championship experience. Ethan Laird as a really good example of those in their back line. So Birmingham, again, like with Wrexham, I think have got the tools to survive. I'm just a little bit more excited with Birmingham's style of play, with Chris Davies coming in, a young upcoming manager who I think could do a really good job with Birmingham long term. And I just think the momentum is going to propel Birmingham just that little bit more than what Wrexham are going to do. So I don't think there's going to be a million miles away between Wrexham and Birmingham's forms. But for me, based on how ruthless Birmingham were, the mentality that they've got to get 111 points is not only ruthless, but it's a ruthless mentality. And I think that is going to be something that's going to help Birmingham survive, or at least fight through what's going to be a really competitive championship season next season. But I'm really excited to see Birmingham again. I think it's going to be a bit refreshing to see Birmingham play a little bit more advanced than the typical Route 1 stuff that we're used to. Completing my teams just outside the top 6, I think it could be Millwall again. I think Millwall will be knocking on the door for playoffs again. I don't see them dropping down loads of places in the table. I've not seen anything that's going to suggest that. And if anything, I think Millwall could potentially improve on their position a bit. If they finished 8th last year, I'm thinking that they could be close, but quite honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they narrowly miss out on the playoffs. But I do like what's going on with Alex Neil. I do like the players that they got at their disposal. I think there's some really good potential at that Millwall squad. It's got a good balance of experience and youthful players who are playing out of their skin at the moment. So Millwall could be a team to watch, but they, in my opinion, will be the team that just misses out on top 6. So the first team, in my opinion, who I think could be in the playoffs is Norwich. Shocking, right? That is a 7th place improvement from their 13th place from last season. Seems a bit drastic, but I think they've got a manager who knows the championship. He also got his side to the playoffs last season. And they've made 2 transfers already, Norwich, and some positive transfers as well. They've got a defensive midfielder in Wright from the Manchester City youth team. And they've got Grimshaw in, which is one of Plymouth Argyle's goalkeepers. So I can see that they are looking up that they're going to try and strengthen their defence and their backline at the moment. And I think then that's when they need to think about whether someone like Sainz, Nunez or Sargent is going to potentially depart from a transfer. But I do think they've got a good strategy. I just have a very sneaky feeling Norwich are going to really improve next year. So for me, I think they could get playoffs. I really do. Coming up in 5th place, in my opinion, is Coventry. They could maybe finish a little bit higher for 4th, based on circumstances I will discuss in a minute with another team above them. But Coventry, I think, have proven that they are one of the best of the rest teams in terms of teams that are not quite going to get promotion, but a team that will be a solid foundation, will pick up enough consistent results, especially from their home games, that will end up with them finishing in the top 6. I like Frank Lampard as a championship manager. I do think they are all playing for him. For me, I need more movement from the transfer window. They've already lost Jamie Patterson to Plymouth. So I think Coventry are in a position where if they don't act quickly, they could drop down some places. But with the manager and the players that they currently got, I think 5th place again for this Coventry side. Now, next above them is Leicester, and that will mean that we have a fierce Midlands derby in the playoffs if it happens. Goodness me, I probably would not want to be in the area when they potentially play a playoff game against each other. But personally for Leicester, this is a really tough one because there's an imminent points deduction looming, which we all thought was going to be the case last season and they never got it. This time it feels like they will get one. And it was a bit like Sheff Utd where there was murmurs of them getting one and then eventually into next season they did get one. It was only 2 points in the end. It does feel like it's going to be a much bigger points deduction for Leicester, but the scale of it, we have no idea what it is yet. It's only speculation at this point. If they get anything more than 6 points, I think that's going to make it really difficult for Leicester to get automatics personally. But I still feel that a lot of people are forgetting about the core squad with this Leicester team. That, it's quite, still full to the brim of players who have been in that squad a couple of seasons ago from Enzo Maresca. I'm not going to say that Kiernan Dewsbury Hall was a one-man team, but I definitely think Leicester losing him was quite fundamental to their relegation from last season. So I think, again, as long as they can find a new manager, they were linked with Russell Martin. He's just been confirmed as Rangers manager, so they're going to have to look again. It's going to be another team that will be looking at the likes of Danny Rose. So it's going to be interesting to see the movements that we're going to see from this Leicester side. But I think personally, with the points deduction looming, and I think with other factors and much needed investment from the squad, I think they will finish the lowest out of the 3 relegated sides, but I don't think it's going to be a massive disaster that a lot of people are thinking now. I think quite a few people are overreacting in terms of what Leicester can do, and you cannot forget how amazing Leicester were when people thought they were going to be a disaster 2 seasons ago, and they in the end did really, really well to get promoted in the way that they did. So I think Leicester will find it a lot tougher this time around, but I think a 4th place finish is still pretty strong for them. And finally, completing my playoffs is Ipswich. So I've somehow managed to get a Norfolk-Suffolk derby and a Midlands derby potentially for the playoffs. I mean, could you imagine if that was actually the case? That would be absolutely insane. I mean, I will tell you right now, probably the victors for those 2 games will be Norwich and Leicester. But personally, I think Ipswich might fall into the trap of being affected by the relegation. What I mean by that is that they only won 1 home game all of last season, and this is in direct contrast to the season before when they were pretty much untouchable at home from the Championship. That stark contrast, I think, it's impossible for them not to question themselves about how they're going to approach things. And I think if Kieran McKenna does find a way to just try and write the previous season off and just to get the players focused to go again in the Championship, it might work. But I think the players will be affected just from how battered they were. They were riding this high wave of momentum with fantastic consistent results, and suddenly it crashes back down to earth. I just think it's going to be very difficult for them to maintain that. But I still think the quality in that squad by itself will at least, as it stands, top 3. But we've learned this year that it's no guarantee, because we saw the likes of Luton getting relegated despite being in the Premier League in the season before. So I'll be keeping my eye on Ipswich, because I do have some fears of them next season. But maybe that's part of me being a bit pessimistic on their chances. Going into my top 2, for me, Sheffield United, I think will get automatically promoted. I could certainly see if Chris Wilder does stay on. It shocks me that he was even considered for being, departed, and the rumours are still circling around that he could be dismissed. I really hope he doesn't. But if they keep Chris Wilder, for me, I think as long as he keeps the squad happy and focused, they will get promoted. There's no doubt about it. To get 90 points in the season before, I think they will attack it again. We saw it with Leeds. They got 90 points the season before. They got 100 last time around. So I do think Sheffield United will have the fundamentals, as long as, they don't make any cruel decisions that could rock the car horse a little bit. I mean, I know Gustavo Hamer has been linked with a couple of Premier League clubs. If he does leave, then I'd back Chris Wilder and Sheffield United to find someone who can fill the void. So personally, I think Sheffield United will get second. So that means, as it stands, I'm actually having Southampton as my favourite. They have made a transfer already in their back line. Kroshme, I think is his name, from Hoffenheim. And Will Steele already been confirmed as their manager. So I'm liking Will Steele is now starting to begin his pool of bringing Bundesliga players to this Southampton side. I personally see Southampton being a team that might start quite slow, but still find a way to pick up good results. And I think once their style of play clicks, I think Southampton will be a difficult team to catch up with. So personally, I think the positive appointment of Steele and the action he's already made and intent he's already made in the transfer window is giving me enough confidence that I think Southampton will be the team to beat as it stands going into the Championship for next season. But of course, guys, these are only my thoughts. As you can see, there is my table. So is there anyone that you agree or disagree with? There's probably a good amount that you disagree with. But let me know if you agree with any of the stuff in the comments down below. So as always, guys, that wraps it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button too. And please share the channel too. All of that really, really helps. You guys are legendary for starting this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.